Good morning, dear learners. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Nice meeting you again on Memeka's material of entrepreneurship, leadership, and dakwah subject. In this learning, we will learn about the definition and also classification, comparison, and also determinant factors of leadership. Firstly, before we come to the topic, as usual, Mamika will deliver some purposes of our study today. The first, students are able to identify the definition about leader and leadership. And then the second, students are able to classify some leaderships in relation to the field of their work. And then thirdly, students are able to compare by understanding the ideal of a leader and non-leader. And then the last, students are able to know some factors or some determinant factors influence the leadership's position. Okay, after you know about some purposes of our learning today, Mamika will remind you of the meaning of a leader and leaderships. We come to the definition about leader and leadership as a reminder. What is leader and what is leadership? A leader is someone who can influence other people or groups to carry out the maximum performance that has been determined in accordance with organizational goals. And leadership is a process in various ways influencing a person or a group of people to achieve a common goal. In the following, various definitions of a leadership are used as references in the realm of its development. In your opinion, which is the development of the current definition of a leadership? It is time to analyze. 1. Leadership is a moral force that is creative and direct. Secondly, leadership is the art of moving others to be willing to fight for mutual opportunities. The third, leadership is the process of influencing an organized group of people for the achievement of their goals. Fourth, leadership means identifying productive areas of uncertainty and confusion and bringing the organization to those areas for competitive or other benefits. The fifth, leadership means directing and aligning the tasks of group members. Six, leadership is a process in which an actor moves his subordinates to behave as expected. Then we come to classification of leaderships. Leaders can be classified in various ways of standards by paying attention to the following divisions. Classification of leaders according to the hierarchy of position. Classification of leaders according to their fields. Classification of leaders according to their scope. Classification of leaders according to social traits. Classification of leaders according to leadership or conditions of need. And then classification of leaders in the field of economic growth. And now we come to the first classification of leaders according to hierarchy of position. For example, like primary or high level leader, and then middle or intermediate level leader, and then the last lower leader, lower level leaders or staff. There are three examples for the classification of leader according to hierarchy of position. Classification for leaders according to their fields. For example, economic leader, religious leader, political leader, education leader, or customary leader. Classification of leaders according to their scope. For example, local leaders, regional leader, national leader, and international leader. Then classification of leaders according to social change. For example, traditional leader and modern leader. Classification of leader according to leadership condition. For example, like primary leader, secondary leader, and tertiary leader. The classification of leader in the field of economic growth, or the last. For example, like managerial type leader and entrepreneur type leader. Then we come to comparison of leader and leadership. In order to strengthen the understanding of the ideal of a leader, an explanation is needed that distinguishes between leaders and non-leaders, which we can see in their daily application in our environment and in our lives. And then we are going to compare, between the leader and non-leader. The characteristics of the leader refers, provide inspiration to workers. Second, carry out work and develop jobs. Show the worker how he should carry out the job. Accept responsibility. And then the last, resolving lost problems that arise. And the characteristic of non-leader, pressing the workers, carrying out work through the sacrifice of work, generating fear in workers with threats and coercions, shirking responsibility. The last, transferring the blame to the other party. We come to the last topic, that is about the determinant factors of a leadership. According to Joseph L. Nashi and John Douglas, can be concluded that the determinants of a leadership include three categories, namely covering the people, work from organizational position, and appears in a specific situation. Related to the first determinant factor, that is the person factor. Recent studies state that between leaders and non-leaders can be demonstrated, and specifically for leaders provides the following clues. 1. Tend to be more compatible psychologically. Secondly, tend to show better judgment. Thirdly, tend to show more interaction with non-leaders. Fourthly, tend to provide more information. And finally, tend to take the lead in interpreting a situation. For the second factor, the position factor, to see this role further, we can divide it into three kinds of expectation about the role. Namely, 1. Personal expectation. 2. Organizational expectation. 3. Cultural expectation. For the personal expectation, What is meant by personal expectation? Personal expectation is where the group expects the personal leader to do certain things and not do certain things. Organizational expectation. What is meant by organizational expectation? Organizational expectation are expectations of the company or organization that are applied in work guidelines such as SOP, technical guidelines, and job description. Cultural expectation. What is cultural expectation? The cultural expectation of qualification that eventually become a results-oriented work, culture, or company culture. And then the last factor, place and situation factors. The place and situation factors are the accuracy of the leader and his leadership pattern at the right place and time. Okay, students, this is the end of our learning today. But always at the end of our meeting, I will give you the assignment to write down on the comment of this video. Related to the classification of leaders according to their fields, there are 5 types of leader. Yeah, economic leader, religious, political, education, as customary leader. So, based on this classification, I need you to give example one by one, yeah, for the figure of the economic leader, the figure of a religious leader. Just write down the name of the leader. For example, the economic leader is Nadiem Makarim. This is example. And then religious leader, for example, is Ustad Abdul Somad. That's all. Okay, students, now it's time for you to watch the video and then write down the assignment and write down the comment of the video. Thank you for your attention today and see you again next week on the different material. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good luck.